With the current border problems and the increase in migrants crossing into the U.S., the question becomes, how do we fix it? With crime up and homelessness taking over our communities, it's become obvious Joe Biden isn't delivering as promised. Donald Trump's recent legal problems overshadow the contribution he made to the United States. His first 3 years in office, the unemployment rate was at a 50-year low. Also within his first 3 years, he passed a bill called the Future Act. The Future Act allocated $255 million to minority-serving colleges, including roughly $85 million specifically allocated to historically black colleges.
Today, in a meeting with a group of mostly African-American pastors, the president was praised by attendees as perhaps the most pro-black president in recent history.
The African-American unemployment rate has achieved the lowest level in recorded history.
You laid out the case also for why President Trump should get a second term, and you've commended him on his efforts for black Americans when it comes to criminal justice reform, funding for HBCUs, and a strong economy for minorities before the pandemic.
Good man, very loyal, and a very good friend. I see a lot of things from Mr. Trump that the public doesn't see. And the people who
watching the January 6th video of the White House being stormed almost seems surreal. A lot of blame was placed on Donald Trump, which he deserves. But the conspiracies about undercover CIA involvement still linger. Members of the media reported several agents were dispersed into the crowd to create more chaos, but the stories were buried. Which leaves the question, why now? Why did it take 2 years to charge him in the January 6th riots? Why did it take 4 years to charge him with tampering with the election? The answer is the border. Donald Trump stands by securing our borders and raising our economy. The Biden administration's plan to end Title 42 created chaos and a surge in drugs and violence in the United States.
Most of the profits involved in the drugs business actually stay here in the United States, where the consumption happens. The reason for that is that the big increase in the drug's value actually happens here. When it arrives in the States, it's worth, if we talk about cocaine for instance, it's worth about $20,000 per kilo. And finally, when it retails, it's worth more like $150,000 per kilo.
Mexico has to stop it. They have people coming right through Mexico. They send trucks. They do absolutely. They started at one point a little bit stopping. They don't do anything to stop it right now. So the caravans form.
With all the attacks on Donald Trump in recent months, it raises the question, is he being targeted because of his border policies? Ultimately, with Donald Trump facing 4 different cases and 91 criminal charges, the question becomes, will he become president again? Could his radical political views and personal life overshadow the good he did for the United States? Only time will tell.